There we go. So we'll wait for our first applicants to join. Hi, Carol.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I assume we're waiting for a few more people.
Yeah. Have they announced who's won the election yet? Or is that going to be by the end of the week at this rate?
I've been too busy to check up on that today. I thought it was supposed to be by noon.
Unofficially, it was NAC, but they haven't finished counting yet.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about like in Glenora, it was still, I think there was only a 200 person spread, and they were still at 50%. So
Yeah, they likely won't have the councillors for till Friday, but they were trying to get the mayor first.
Hi, Michael.
Hello. Hi, sorry, joining. I had trouble joining it.
It's okay. Still waiting for anyone else?
Not on our end, no.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, let me just find the window here. So if you're ready to go, I can get going. Welcome to the Edmonton Design Committee for the development permit presentation of the Blatchford Aircraft Control Tower. We'd like to remind you that this is a public meeting. We have all received and reviewed your submission package. Your team will have 10 minutes to present, and then we will go virtual roundtable of the committee members for questions. After the presentation, the committee will deliberate and respond to you in writing within 48 hours. So I will now turn it over to you to introduce your team and your project.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Greg. I am Michael Dubb, architect with Dubb Architects, working on this project for the City of Edmonton. Representing the City of Edmonton, we have the city architect here, Carl Belanger, and we've also been working alongside the Blatchford development team on this project. I'm just going to start sharing my screen.
We can see
Looks
it.
like you can see it. Okay, great. So we visited, we presented this project earlier as an informal application a few months ago, looking at the EDC composition here. I think a few new faces, so but also some overlap. So I'm happy to go into detail if about anything we might have discussed beforehand, but also, I think it still stands on its own, and I'll be presenting it as though it's a new project as well. This is the Blatchford Control Tower Pavilion. It occupies the former aircraft control tower for when this is the municipal airport. You can see here images on the left of what it looked like in that context, where it was essentially a standalone building on a tarmac overlooking the runways. And then in its current setting, where it's now a kind of focal piece that's been preserved within the Blatchford community that's growing around it. In this area, kind of a low-rise portion of Blatchford, the first to be developed. And it follows the development of the park landscape around it a few years ago. The scope includes the preservation of the tower itself. Even though it's not a historically designated building, we are effectively treating it as such, and making sure that it's it's honored as the for its heritage value. And along those lines, we're making sure that we aren't disturbing kind of it as a historical artifact. However, it does have its shortcomings. It has some contamination in the form of asbestos, and should it ever be repurposed, it would have fairly significant investments that would have to be made in order to bring it up to code. And so that program isn't in front of us at this time. It's largely about preserving the original structure. However, the annex building, which followed, was built subsequently, and has is easier to manage and has fewer complications. That is seen as an opportunity for integration with the neighborhood in the form of adaptive reuse. So I think we're probably all familiar with Blatchford and its fairly ambitious urban plan, and this happens to sit within the first phase of implementation. There's some writing that I won't bore you with. You can see that even though it's a charismatic structure that has lots of character, its edges leave something to be desired. The public realm around the building is of high quality, and I think this is an opportunity to weave that public realm into the kind of ground condition of this structure. Our approach for conservation has been kind of two-pronged. First of all, we're looking to the Conservation of Historic Places Guide, which addresses industrial structures as well as kind of traditional architecture. And along those lines, we're pulling from that. We're treating the tower, as I mentioned, as a preservation project, and then the annex building as an adaptive reuse project. And along the lines of that conservation guide, we're trying to treat new and heritage as contrasting but complementary elements. So kind of trying to treat the annex as something that differentiates itself from the heritage tower, but also does so in a way that is complementary. And it's already doing a lot of that. The fact that it's discrete building that lightly touches the original tower, that it shows the original condition on the north side, that it's horizontal while the tower is vertical. It's doing a lot of the initial moves well already, so we're just building off of that relationship. Here you can see the tower in its urban context. It has a strong visual presence from all sides. It largely looks the same. The angle, it's a little bit different on each side, but from the west, you have a street terminates, likely intentionally, on the tower, so strong vertical presence. On the south side, a park lawn, so a very, an opportunity for a physical connection where you can interact with the building and go inside. From the east, there's kind of a marsh park landscape for another visual connection, and then the connection to the more amenity area of the park to the north. So this is just a plan that shows the existing condition. It's largely flats. The improvements to the parks around it, that's kind of stopped short of the building itself. So not too much that we have to remove in terms of demolition. And then the existing building, it's just subdivided into these smaller rooms. Our intent, you'll see, is to open it up and to kind of build off of the simplicity, and in some ways make the plan even simpler. This is the proposed floor plan. So those two larger rooms are combined into a single multi-purpose community room, which is accessed by an entry hall. At a future date, if the tower is ever repurposed into some kind of public use or controlled or occupied occupancy, then that could be connected to this entry corridor or have its own kind of address from the exterior. We are building publicly accessible washrooms off of the original floor plate to kind of create a nice simple shape. These could potentially be used during when the rest of the facility is locked, so it essentially can act as a public restroom building for outdoor events outdoors of the park. And then we're wrapping this new structure in what we're calling community porch to try and create interesting social spaces and parks and spaces that are part of the building, but also part of the park that look to the west and to the south. Here you can see that in its urban context, a lot of this landscape is already built, and we are, as I say, kind of weaving that existing park landscape into the building. So the planting precedent that's been set by the earlier park by Stantec is now that same planting language and planting species list has been brought up to the building. And then we have this generous community porch that along the south side where there's a direct connection to the lawn. So you can imagine events either inside the building spilling out onto the community porch and subsequently down to the lawn, or vice versa, events on the lawn being able to kind of filter up into the building. And we kind of see the porch as an opportunity for event space in and of itself. On the east side, there's a little less room, so it's a little bit more about visual connections, creating kind of spaces that are nice for moving through. We did want this to have the character of a place you'd want to sit and stay, which hopefully you can see in the renderings in a moment. But so we're proposing that some outdoor furniture that's robust, but also kind of speaks to that feeling of sitting on a porch. So almost like an Adirondack type chair here, which is will be color matched to the building. This doesn't seem to be, oh, here it is. This is a lighting plan that just shows the intent for lighting. Essentially, we are with LED flood lighting, we're down washing the faces of the tower, so that you see that kind of striking stripes of red and white at nighttime as well. And then for a kind of even impression, we're doing the same, using the same light on the canopy, on downward light, which will wash the face of our new building, which has a similar kind of graphic, the graphic stripes of color, and will create a kind of silhouette condition where you'll see the structure of the canopy as a silhouette against the face of the building. So in terms of the identity and character of this building, I think we mentioned that we wanted it to be complementary to the heritage. We're looking at here's the Aviation Museum a block away. This structure, the precedent of lightweight structures and skins wrapped over them. And then a few examples of contemporary architecture that has a similar effect as those great examples, those great old airplanes. Also a block away is the old Stanley Engineering Building, humble origins of Stantec. By Hemingway, it was an interesting project where the exterior sun break kind of forms the identity of the building. So we thought, this is an interesting idea to build off of, where we have an existing building. How do we build off of its character without, substantially changing the structure of the building? And so, but with an independent sun shade, we can look at, making it a space for not only being in, but and a space that's nice to be in, but a space that also can generate the electricity for this facility. So this is also the precedent of the convention center, which does something similar. And then lastly, the identity of the park that's already been developed around it. There's kind of a landscape of structures and follies that are made out of galvanized steel that we thought are doing something interesting. We could build off of that. So it felt cohesive.
Sorry to interrupt. You were kind of just noting we're getting to time now.
Yep.
I'd ask that you wrap up any important points in the next minute.
Yeah, okay. I'll skip the material palette because we talked about that before. But, I think some of the things we heard at the last informal presentation were that this elevation specifically didn't feel like it was necessarily accommodating arrival, in the sense that this was how people got their first impression of the building. And so here, I think we spent a little bit more time working on the nuances of how you would walk up to the building and what the nature of that ramp and stair would be, and then also signage, how this would become a graphic marker of entry for the building. A little bit more nuance there. There was some concern about how utilitarian the canopy was. We spent a lot of time trying to structurally design this so that each member was so that each member was articulating what it was doing, and there wasn't kind of a uniform use of structural steel tubing, but now it's more nuanced. A little bit more care given to the interface with the park and how it's working there, and signage. And then the experience inside of looking out from there. This is to the west towards the marshland. Yeah, and then these are the elevations, which hopefully show this as a kind of a cohesive, a structure that's complementary to the original tower, but also has a kind of cohesiveness. There's a cohesiveness of both structures working together. You can see it. So happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. We will now move to the roundtable portion. David, can you kick us off, please?
I most certainly can. Sorry, I'm just getting myself organized here. Thanks, Michael, for your presentation. I'm just going to key in on probably the things I keyed in during the informal, and that really is with respect to the community porch. I'm still having a hard time, based on the current design and what is sort of stated in the document. The idea that it's there. The idea of the community porch was to sort of enhance the public realm, encourage activity, engage the passerby, and create a welcoming and active space. And I'm still a little lost how 2 lounge chairs and a few benches sort of evokes that and creates that intent. And once again, I'm still having a hard time with the character represented in the perspectives. So I don't know. As I said, I'm still having a hard time with the community porch concept, and what's shown visually versus what sort of the written intent is. And then the other thing, I think I mentioned it previously as well, is that there's a couple of chairs and a couple of benches, but there could be some opportunity to expand that community porch sort of down into that sort of landing area, which is really sort of characterized as a walkway. But there could be a bit more of spill out for larger gatherings and events and celebrations and things like that. So yeah, I as I said, I don't know if there's any sort of response to that, but as I said, I'm still struggling with the community porch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do. We have been thinking about the comments that you made at the previous visit. I do think that this, in some ways, where we landed with the street furniture, which is kind of trying to not feel like street furniture, is that we're trying to accommodate different levels of flexibility for how we don't want to kind of over program what's happening on that porch, so that it couldn't be loose enough to accommodate a lot of people using it.
Well,
so
yeah,
part of it's
and
the flexibility.
Yeah, see, like I would say that creating a number of sort of tables and movable tables and chairs would be much more sort of fluid with regards to creating a community gathering space that could host 1 or 2 people dropping by and having a coffee and chatting on any given day versus as I said, like a group within the community hosting a little bit of an event or a birthday party or this or that, right? So
yeah, I think the idea of like movable furniture is great and is something that we would totally support. What we have here is in some ways for those, if there isn't the operational model of having like movable furniture there and being able to ensure that it stays there, that there's seating and there's something there for all the days of the year where there aren't events. So trying to find the right balance, but I do think that like having movable furniture could totally complement what we're trying to provide here.
well, and it might spur on someone within the community to open a little coffee shop there or a little concession type thing, so that it, as I said, it just becomes this really wonderful sort of year. I love the design of everything. It's just, creating more of a opportunity of creating more of a destination for the community that can be used for all different aspects. And as I said, it's just a very simple tweak, I think, to how you promote those different aspects of gathering and so on and so forth. So anyway.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think I understand. And I actually, in terms of the relationship to the lawn, I mean, we are picturing in the spill out scenario that the lawn is programmed, that we don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, it's maybe, yeah. The only thing I'm thinking about is with expanding a bit more of the hard surface, is that then, that becomes a year-round opportunity, right? So even if there's a bit of snow on the ground and so on and so forth, there's still this ability to have that spill out of tables and chairs and so on and so forth, and still host events maybe during the more inclement parts of our year. So anyway, as it just creates that flex space for maybe some larger gatherings, or for those that just want to sit down on the lawn, next to the lawn rather than under the canopy type thing. So anyway, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Mindy.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for your presentation. No questions. I think you've done a beautiful job with the work since the informal. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Mindy. Janice.
Thanks for your presentation. I would echo David's thoughts, and similar to Mindy, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Janice. Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for the presentation. I too, I see that the questions that I had during the informal they're addressed, and I really like the project, so I have no additional comments or questions. So thanks for bringing it to us.
Thank you, Kevin. Shay.
Sorry, can you guys hear me okay? I got some pretty sketchy internet here at the moment.
Yeah, you're good. Yep.
Okay, I'll keep my video off just to keep it good. Thank you so much, Mike, for the presentation. Everything looks pretty great. The space is a nice elevation of the existing facilities. I think I really only have two small comments or questions. I know you showed the example of the photovoltaic project here in the city, and looking at the building elevations, the project really does showcase these photovoltaic canopies in they do dominate the elevations. I was wondering if there's any intent to try to pattern the photovoltaics in any way on the surface of the canopy or screens here. Is there any intent to do something with that?
We are being very intentional about what photovoltaics we select in order to kind of balance electrical generation with the quality of being underneath it, because sometimes those are cross purposes, or that if you go too opaque, it's not a kind of pleasant thing to be underneath. So we're not looking at any kind of custom patterning, because that the suppliers that are able to do that get pretty limited. But we are looking at the spacing of the photovoltaics that are inlaid in the glass to make sure that there's going to be a nice quality of sunlight coming through the kind of opaque panel. So you can kind of see in the shadows here that there's a kind of dotted pattern of shadow, and that's kind of the effect that we are trying to achieve. And it looks like we have a few options for the suppliers for how to do that.
Okay, awesome. I mean, I do love a nice dappled sunlit daylight coming in through that. I think that'll still look nice. And then outside of is there any intention to elevate the existing fire exit stair that's adjacent to the Blatchford Tower? I see in the elevations on the last page that it's just going to be it does call up new stair panels and some new paint on the stair panels. Like, are those going to be replaced in situ with something that looks the same, or is it going to be something new that complements the renovation for the annex itself?
It's largely just going to be preserved as is, but refurbished. So, like what's maybe not totally clear here is that these metal panels are actually quite interesting, kind of formed or shaped metal panels, and so definitely part of the original kind of character of the building. So we're going to clean those up. They're covered in peeling paint and rehabilitate or refurbish them. And so the stair, you know, we are kind of along the lines of preservation, not trying to touch too strongly. However, at the bottom where there's kind of intrusion problems, we are looking to extend. We are using kind of perforated panel that may be backlit, which kind of complements the character and the scale of the new development, but also make sure that nobody can get in there.
All fair. Okay. Well, yeah, that's just sort of looking to maintain the existing character of those, again, very unique looking stairs when I look at them in person. That's great. Other than that, I really have no other major comments. This looks like a beautiful little pavilion to complement the Blatchford community. So looking forward to this one getting built and visiting it in person one day.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. Raj.
No, I don't have any comments. I like the idea of the sustainability features in this building, and I'm very excited about your connection to the district energy. So yeah, thank you. Good project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Karen.
Hi there. Thanks for the presentation and all the work. Can definitely want to thank you for coming in for the informal and embracing that comment. So I really have nothing new. So, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. You're cutting in and out a little bit, but I think we got the gist of it. That leaves me. I don't think I was here for the informal. I don't have too much to say other than and it's such a small item. The stairs on the front. I just wonder, kind of to David's comment about the kind of space. I'm wondering if the stairs got a little narrower, if that gave you a little bit more space. I kind of appreciate how it's aligned to the structure, and I'd hate to kind of argue for a smaller, more restrictive stair. I just kind of say it only to would it give you more space on that porch. But I mean, I feel like I'm splitting hairs with that comment. I think otherwise it's a great project, and like the inclusion of those accessible washrooms. I feel like, again, I wasn't here for the informal. I kind of was wondering why there wasn't signage on the front as well, but I do kind of see it now more so in our discussions and reading the previous notes that it's probably better suited to where you're showing it. So yeah, that's all I have. Thank you for bringing this before the Edmonton Design Committee. We'll take a brief 1 to 2 minute break just kind of prior to deliberating. We welcome you to kind of stay on the call, but ask that you don't join in on the deliberation.
Well, thank you.
Does anyone want to get us going here while I switch a window?
No, my only comments are, looking at that community porch and how we can, how it can be expanded to create more daily and year-round community event celebration opportunities. Be a little bit more flexible. So other than that, I would make a motion of support for this project.
Thank you.
Yeah, most
Other
of the committee looks
comments?
sounded pretty complimentary, and so not too much to address. I mean, architecturally, I don't think any of my comments really pertain. So I feel like this one's a pretty simple one. A lot of
Yeah, I'm
positive
glad
adjectives.
I'm glad that I forgot to mention my little spiel about, keep questions to 2 and keep your answers short. And I didn't say that this time, and I didn't need to for this one. So yeah, as David did make a motion of support, I will second that. And we have the one comment there about the community porch.
Yeah, feel free to add to it.
This is where, as chair, I always kind of have to move a lot of windows here to try to find the document to edit and see it. Reads okay to me. So David, were you thinking of kind of more space kind of at the bottom of the stairs? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of initially had a similar thought. I'm just trying to find it in the package here, where it's nice we had the little landscaping, but it felt like it, even though it's low landscaping, it's a little bit of a barrier to that porch. And my comment about the stairs could go completely the other way too, right? Like if the whole front was stairs. If there's no other comments, are we ready to vote on this? Yes. Okay. For the motion of support as presented on the screen, we'll go in the same question order. David?
Support.
Mindy?
Support.
Janice?
Support.
Kevin? With, sorry, support?
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone's connection's a little shaky today. Shay,
Support.
Raj,
Support.
Karen,
Support.
and Craig support. I believe they're still on the call, so we will get this out to you within 48 hours. Next item up on the agenda is C.2, McKernan Flats. We'll wait for that group to join us. Just posted the question order.
Hi, Ian. Thanks for joining a few minutes early.
Okay, that's great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are you waiting for any other members of your team,
Nope.
Ian? Okay.
It's me.
Okay, we can get going. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Okay, welcome to the Edmonton Design Committee for the Development Permit presentation of McKernan Flats. We would like to remind you that this is a public meeting. Oh, sorry. We have all received and reviewed your submission package. Your team will have 10 minutes to present, and then we will go virtual roundtable of the committee members for questions. After the presentation, the committee will deliberate and respond to you in writing within 48 hours. I'll now turn it over to you to introduce yourself and the project.
Okay, thank you. I'm assuming everyone can see this. I'm Ian Evans. I'm a principal with HSCA, and I'm happy to be able to present our project at McKernan called McKernan Flats. The project is a multifamily project, a 4-story multifamily project with one level of underground parking. It's located on 109th Street at the corner of 77th Ave. It's primarily 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. There is a studio and a 2-bedroom plus den, and the units range from 400 to 1,000 square feet. It is located in the 109th Street Corridor Area Redevelopment Plan. The primary objective of the plan is to improve the quality and appearance of the development and streetscape on 109th Street to achieve a better environment for pedestrians and a better balance between all users of this important transportation corridor. And there's some bullets that highlight what the redevelopment plan is trying to achieve. And it's some of them are encourage appropriate high quality medium scale development to increase the vitality of the corridor, create a vibrant residential and commercial mixed use street, and importantly, enhance the public and private realm to provide safe, visually appealing streetscape for all. The transportation corridor is quite wide and quite busy, and so trying to provide for private and public spaces along that street is a bit of a challenge, and it's something that we've tried to address in a significant way in our project. The other is encourage future development in the corridor to demonstrate a high quality of landscaping, building materials, and design quality to minimize the adverse impacts, and I'm assuming of the transportation corridor. The actual district we're in is the medium scale residential district, so really intensifying residential medium scale on that corridor, and they provided some examples of what they think is appropriate, as well as some of the buffer that happens adjacent to what would be private spaces. The zoning is medium scale residential. Our height is 8 to 16, so to allow for multi-unit residential development that ranges from approximately 4 to 8 stories. So this diagram really reflects what the ARP is trying to achieve, which is, you see in the orange here, medium scale residential development that flanks 109th Street, so providing higher density along that edge. Our site is on the corner of 77th Ave and 109th Street. It's flanked on two sides by lanes. On the east-west lane, that provides access to our underground parkade. And then we do have some surface parking on the north, off the north-south lane, as well as access to the garbage enclosures. Our main entrance to the building is off 109th Street, but we do have a secondary entrance for residents adjacent to the surface parking. It's really important to note that this is pedestrian circulation that, as part of the ARP, is to be thought of sensitively and to promote kind of active participation. This is the site as it exists today. There is a boulevard of mature trees, which is important. It provides a bit of a foreground to the development site. And so for us, it really is important to try and build this important public realm interface, both at ground level, so providing planters and vegetation in a way that provides some buffer and privacy to the public private spaces in behind, enhance public experience along the street, as well as vertically providing outdoor living spaces that are at a height that still visually connects to the activities that are happening on the street. This site plan is a little hard to read, but basically what we're trying to show is that part of the DP has required us to increase the width of the main sidewalk along 109th Street. We've taken the opportunity to increase the hard surfacing to allow for the outdoor private spaces of these units to extend outside, while providing kind of a definition with cortan steel barriers that provides a delineation between public and private space. We'll see this better in some of the renderings. And then along the lane and 77th Ave, using taller planters that allow for taller, larger scale trees on both sides. We are building above a parkade, so having to build these planters higher allows for enough depth of soil to protect the trees and ensure their continued growth. And then some private amenity spaces along those, again with gated access, and then landscaping to provide some privacy and buffer from where the garbage is. So this is our landscape plan. Again, larger trees along these edges and then smaller scale planters in other areas. So the renderings, I'll just go through quickly, highlight what we're trying to achieve. Larger scale planters, the definition of the private realm adjacent to the ground floor residential units along 109th Street. Identification of the main entrance. Again, these are the private spaces along the sidewalk. Corten steel providing that definition. And then 77th Ave, again, taller planters allows for enough soil to ensure the success of the trees. And you can see how that wraps around the building. And then where we have the garbage pickup, again, providing a significant buffer to the residential units at that level. And then some of the private spaces along the lane. This is the entrance to the parkade, providing a bit of a canopy, so we defined the entrance. Just a quick view of the parkade, nothing important here, just some bike stalls on the rooftop. The client is really considering adding some photovoltaic panels on the roof. And then it's important to note on the typical floor, the size of these balconies, the depth is significant enough, 2.5 meters by 3.23 meters, 8 meters squared, to allow for outdoor living spaces to those units. Large enough that furniture can be put out, planters and vegetation. Our client, it's important to note, is owns a steel company, and so he wanted to. It is a wood frame structure, but we will embed some steel structure that allow for these balconies to be projected off and expressed some of the steel elements. Again, that interface that happens along the sidewalk. The underside of it being either full wood metal or real wood, and side lit so that provides illumination to the building in the evening. Additional lighting highlights entrances, this being the main entrance. This is the materials we're talking about, so profiled metal cladding, again, the full wood metal and the warmth of the Corten steel planter. And this elevation I'm just showing you, we've got a break shape that happens at every floor, but the profiled metal panels and random planks to add interest and variety. The building form is very simple. And part of that was to allow for us to spend money on larger windows and these projecting balconies. Again, the vegetation in front adds a foreground. Lighting is very important. So as I talked about, lighting the underside of these extending balconies with the warmth of the wood and then highlighting the vegetation provides foreground to the building. The trees provide privacy for the upper units. And as I circle around, this is along the lane that's east-west, the parkade access, the back entrance and surface parking, back entrance protected by an extended balcony access canopy, additional lighting. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. We will now transition to the roundtable portion of the presentation. As we move to questions to the applicant, I'd like to remind the committee and the applicant to please attempt to keep questions and responses concise and limit questions to 2 per committee member. If committee members have additional questions, please identify it at the end of your 2 questions, and if time is permitting, we will follow up after the remainder of the committee members have had an opportunity to ask questions. With that, who's first? Raj, would you like to kick us off?
No, I think it's a good project. I don't have any questions.
Thank you, Raj. Kevin.
Hi. Yeah, no questions for me either. I'm a fan of this project, and I think everything was laid out very well in the submission document. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. Janice.
Craig,
Oh, yeah.
Janice let us know that she's having some audio issues, so she said she
Oh,
will
okay.
put the questions through the chat.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mindy.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for your presentation. No questions. I think it's a really beautiful project, like the others have said. Especially love the materiality and the attention to detail with the lighting. Thanks.
Thank you, Mindy. Karen.
Hi there. Thanks for the presentation. My first gut was that some of those windows were a little on the small side, but you provided a really good rationale. Has there been any thought, or how much thought, I'm sure there has been, into the garbage collection and the, excuse me, parkade access? Were there any concerns or anything that came out of that with city discussions?
No, we had our pre-application meeting with the city, and we've developed something that works. The lane is quite tight, and so this access was the only one that really worked for the garbage. So it's quite close to the building, but it's a tight site. And the surface parking, and they really just ended up where they needed to be based on the requirements of transportation, garbage, and our needs, and having to make that corner at the lane, 2 lanes.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was just the maneuverability of getting in and out of there. Those lanes can be challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's all for me. Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Shay.
Thanks, Ian, for your presentation. I love this project too. I've got a lot of comments that I'll save because they're not part of my, I have a lot of compliments that I'll say that are not a part of my comments. But keeping the site plan up, I've got two good questions. One is on 109th Street, those ground level patios are very close to the pedestrian realm, and they also have strategically selected really low Corten steel fencing. Is there any concerns or a rationale from your side as to, like, is there a concern about having the private space so close to the public space? Typically there's like some landscape buffering or additional space filled with shrubs to kind of keep that private space not within arm's reach of the public realm. It seems really, really close, like 40 centimeters close.
It's close. I'll give it that. It is a different experience than what we traditionally see. We feel it's important to provide that definition as we provide it, so that people within those units feel, that they aren't a storefront, I guess, a store. Would it be any better if it was landscaping? Possibly, but part of our requirement is to provide outdoor amenity space adjacent to those units. Could they provide more of a buffer through their own landscaping? I guess we're giving them that opportunity. There is always a concern of vandalism as well. If they do put furniture out there, will it disappear? But I don't, putting higher gating isn't helpful either, because that feels a bit aggressive against the public realm.
Yeah, I get the balance. Again, vandalism, access, again, sight lines too. It is a busy walkway, not just for pedestrian, but also for traffic. Basically, any car that's stopped by, they can see right through into anybody's unit, and they're pretty close. So I'll just note the comment that it does feel tight and close, and I think that's about it. Then on the backside with the site plan, the only thing I don't love is just on the west side patio units that are directly adjacent to the waste and recycling. There is a shorter wall there, and so those folks who live in those 2 southwest patio spaces are really close to open air garbage. that might offer a not so great.
It's 1.7 meter high wall.
Okay, so just shy of a 6-foot wall. So yeah, I mean you won't
Yeah.
see it, but you'll
Yeah.
you'll smell it for sure.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering. I know you do have a really tight site. If there's any brush or any way for that to be closer to the parkade or access where there's no direct tenant adjacency to the waste collection, it does blow up that.
Yeah, I guess the only thing, the waste has to go here. It was really the only place that it works from the city perspective. Could that unit go somewhere else? You know, we've looked at this lots of different ways. Part of our challenge was also just allowing for the 1.8 meter sidewalk that has to make it to all the walkway, to all the parking stalls, which was a challenge as well. They wouldn't allow us to access them off the lane. Tight site, lots of.
Yeah, tight site with a lot of things on the lane.
I guess the one thing I would say is, you know, part of it, that could be an amenity space or something. And that we did propose something like that. The client is really at the risk of it being potentially an unrentable unit or a less desirable unit, wanted to go and provide a unit there.
Okay. I think those are my only two comments. Again, outside of that, super complimentary on the materiality, cladding, the ribbing of the metal. Love a lot of the other stuff. Those are just two nitpicky things. I wouldn't love living next to a garbage recycling bin, especially taking garbage out to there and knowing how rancid they can be after like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And then just the adjacency to that public ground. But yeah, other than that, thanks Ian for the presentation.
Thanks.
Great project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. David.
Hi Ian, thanks for your presentation. Just picking up on what Shay was talking about along 109th Street, you know, the public realm condition is much different than 77th Avenue. I don't know if there was any thought of maybe adding some of that horizontal slatted screening to the Cortan steel wall. You know, if there's not enough room to put some planters along that edge, maybe, you know, providing some partial screening would provide a little bit more visual separation between those patio units in the street.
So maybe taking what we've got here, which is basically separating
exactly.
adjacent patios and extending it.
Not raising the gates up any, just adding that sort of screening to those wall units, I think would, and I don't think it has to be for the entire length of the wall units, you know, just for those sort of prescribed sort of seating areas where they might have a table and chair out there. So that might help that edge specifically. I don't have any concerns with the 77th Avenue edge. Also, I understand the logic behind the higher planters in order to get tree planting, but they really do, like even in the prospectus that you've provided, you know, they really do sort of create this wall along the street. So I have two questions. One is, could those be supplemented with some, I don't know, some public art additions or, you know, all along the face, you know, that it could be in Cortan itself, just to give it a bit more, just to break down the massing of that steel. And or the other question I had, I understand that the parkade extends underneath this area, and you know, in the past, the way in which we've tried to deal with maybe lowering these types of planters is creating some indent in the park, you know, some insets into the parkade and actually burying some of the depth of those planters. I don't know if that was considered or looked at. You know, so you have the front, you know, those stalls basically have a bit of a recess where you're pulling in. So just on those ones, right?
Yep.
So, like I can't remember if you were like for Epcor Tower, we did quite a bit of that on the first level of parking, where we
Right.
actually had a little bit of a drop in the parkade lid. Anyway, and then the only other question I had was the corner of the building at 77 and 109, and right now there's a proposed planter in there, and I'm just wondering, like, just from my perspective, I don't know, that corner could be maybe a little bit more dynamic engagement, or even sort of a visible urban landmark component. I was wondering what sort of options were explored for that corner to better sort of engage and activate the public realm of the streetscape and reinforce that the building's presence on that corner.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, we have the fire department connection here, which we have to provide access here. I mean, we could replace what is being proposed here with something, more significant, more.
Yeah, well, you know where I'm coming from. It's just that's a pretty important corner, and I don't know, like, even if it was once again, an opportunity for maybe a bit of public art rather than a raised bed in that,
or even I mean, that could be a piece of furniture that is more directed to people who are walking along the.
It just becomes a bit of an anchor for that corner, rather than just having a planter there. So anyway, that's all I have. All the questions I had. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you, David. That's to me. I don't have much more to say. I kind of similar to Shay and David. I guess when I first looked at it, I kind of read those tall planters on the 109 side. That's kind of where my mind went, but I understand your justification for doing it the way that you do. I guess I have two comments in relation to that. I guess, could those planters be a little bit shorter with the species that doesn't need as much soil depth to kind of just drive them down? And then two, along 109th, to get a little bit more landscaping there, I see, and it's a small area, kind of that infill of the sidewalk. Could you have a narrow planter in there with a little bit of landscaping and kind of try to not justify, but balance those two heights between those two? Maybe you can come up a little higher on 109th on that wall, right? If that core 10 kind of fence became a narrow planter, could that be a little bit more of a buffer between the public and the private, and give the opportunity for some landscaping? And kind of, if that were to happen, even on that corner of the 109th and 77th, like David says, that planter that's there, kind of, can you reclaim some of that patio space for that unit if you're kind of taking away some with like the depth for a planter?
It's hard to see here, but part of is it going? I'm not sure. I can't even read it from here, but this sidewalk is being enlarged, and I was wondering if it was projecting into our property.
It is.
Anyways,
it shows that that concrete infill is showing within your property line, and that's what I thought. I mean, I know I don't see a dimension per se, but if it's enough to kind of get a really narrow planter in there, is that enough to kind of plant some grasses or something that might give a little bit more privacy? That was it, though. I think, much like the other committee members, I think it's a well-detailed project. Materiality. Really enjoy the underside of the balconies, the materiality there, and the lighting. That certainly adds a lot of warmth to the building. So thank you for your presentation. We will now move to the deliberation portion. You're welcome to stay on the line. We just ask that you do not participate in this. If anyone's ready to kick it off, we can get going. comments. I think overall it was fairly positive. Give me a second to get our document opened here. So. I will make a motion of support.
I'll second.
Yeah, I like that idea of the horizontal slatted screening to the walls. It's a nice touch. Public art on the higher planters, or assess the opportunity of insetting a portion of the planter of the parquet lid to lower the above grade planter height. Do we need to be more specific about the third point? Consider the corner treatment of the building and ground level to better engage. We're not talking about we're talking about that planter, David. We're not talking about the corner of the building per se. Sorry, I think I know what you meant when you were talking. I just in reading it. Or this to denote like the southwest corner or something. And I think to the last point, Shay, you had mentioned it as well, the separation between the garbage and that patio, and it looked like it was stone. And I'm wondering if just having landscaping in there would be helpful as well.
So you think just having landscaping in the space where there's a patio instead?
Well, no, between the patio and that 1.7 high masonry wall, right? It looks like it's showing as stone or gravel. Right. Could the planter material not carry north all the way to the patio, so we can get at least some planting material between the patio and the landscaping or the waste recycling?
Yeah, it looks like it's just landscape rock. So
Yeah.
if you soften it, maybe it does help.
Maybe I'll just add that to the end.
It's less of a visual thing and more of just a scent thing. Or if that's a urban principle attribute or not.
Does that seem okay?
I'm okay with that. Yeah. Landscaping, at least if it can't be moved programmatically.
Um, are we all okay with all the points that are written?
I'm good.
Okay, let's move to the motion. For the motion of support as presented on the screen, we'll go voting in order of questions. Raj,
Support.
Kevin,
Support.
Janice. She's still having audio issues. Janice supports. Mindy,
Support.
Karen,
Support.
Shay, David,
Support.
Support.
and Craig support. And if Ian is still on, thank you for bringing this to the Edmonton Design Committee. We will get this back to you in writing within 48 hours. Moving on the agenda, we have item C.3, 9863 78F apartment. We will wait for that applicant to join us.
Craig, we just heard from the applicant and they're not able to join until 6:20. So I don't know if everyone wants to take a dinner break and reconvene for the next project.
That works for me.
We don't really have a choice. Well, he's scheduled at that time. That we've never had this situation, but hopefully he could show up a little earlier. But that's all we can really do at our end. Is if he shows up when he's supposed to show up, it's legit.
I guess we moved too fast through the first two.
Well, usually people like to be moved up, but I don't know. We don't know what's.
Fair enough.
We'll try him again. I mean, I don't know. What are we at? 5:39. Is that 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So reconvene at 6:15.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice, David. Thanks.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you. See you at 6:15.
Yeah.
Ashley, out of curiosity, do we pause live streaming during this time or it just stays live?
It just stays live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No worries.
Okay, 6:15. Administration, are you back?
We are.
Okay, let's do a quick roll call. Raj?
Yep.
Kevin?
Here.
Janice?
I'm back, Craig.
Okay. Janice? Maybe. Mindy?
I'm here.
Karen?
Present.
Shay?
I'm here.
And David?
Yeah.
So we still have quorum without Janice. I see Song Lin has joined us. Hi, Sung Lin. Are you waiting for anyone else?
No, I think the client, they cannot join the meeting, so it will be just myself.
Okay. We can get going. I think Janice joins. She will just drop it a note in the chat. So welcome to the Edmonton Design Committee for the development permit presentation of 9863 78th Ave apartment. We'd like to remind you that this is a public meeting. We have all received and reviewed your submission package. Your team will have 10 minutes. Sorry, it's like your team will have 10 minutes to present, and then we will go virtual round table of the committee members for questions. After the presentation, the committee will deliberate and respond to you in writing within 48 hours. I will now turn it over to you to introduce the project.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Just wondering, do I need to share my PowerPoint or
Yeah,
actually?
If you can, it's maybe easier if you can, but
sure.
If not, I'm sure Ashley can. There we go. Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yeah,
Are
perfect.
you able to make it full screen or presentation mode just to make it a touch bigger?
Let me see.
Perfect. Yeah, that works.
Okay, perfect. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you for your time to review our project. So today, we will present the 5-unit apartment project in 9863 at 78th Avenue. This is the agenda of today's presentation. Project overview. The proposed project is a 3-story apartment with half basement. It is located at 9863 at 78th Avenue. The site area is 405.6 square meter. The total floor area is 549.6 square meter. Our FAR is 1.35. This project will only have 5 apartment units. The mechanical electrical room and storage space is in the half basement. The parking store along the back lane. So these are the existing site photo. The property is right next to 99th Street, which is close to the industry area. And there are a lot of existing single-family house east to the building. And west to our property across 99th Street is a lot of the commercial industry building. This is a zoning map. The building is designed to meet the city's RS small-scale residential zone requirements. The proposed building is 3-story with basement. The building height is 32 feet or 9.79 meter high, which is under the RS zoning requirement of maximum 10.5 meters. The proposed FAR is 1.35, and we only developed 5 units, which meets the city's bylaw requirement. All the setbacks, including the front, the rear, and the side, meet or exceed the zoning's requirement. We provide 2 vehicle parking. One of them are handicapped in the backyard facing the alley. Curb ramp and sidewalk are provided for convenient connection between front and back. We also provide 5 bicycle parking in both the front and the back side. This is the building design. And because the 99th Street is one side is the single family house and the other side is the industry and the commercial building, the existing building, they looks quite modern style and without many decoration. So we decided to use the Scandinavian modernism architecture design style by using simple building mass and the materials. The building design concept. The proposed development will follow the city's neighborhood reinvestment, walkability, and urban design principle. Contemporary style design is used with the materials and colors to be neutral to match the adjacent buildings. Corrugated vertical metal siding, insulated wood grade metal siding, and black color metal railing panels are used in the elevation design to create a neat and elegant design style. The apartment's main entry is facing 78th Avenue, with individual sidewalk connection to the city's sidewalk along 99th Street. Adequate exterior light fixtures, including wall light and porch light under the decorative trim box, as well as the pedestrian light in the yard, are provided along the building for the pedestrian and resident safety. Design concept. So the material that we use is the vertical corrugated metal siding and the wood grade insulated metal siding. We also provide some Julia balcony for the residents. The building elevation. This is the front and back elevation. The front elevation is the north elevation facing 78th Avenue, and the south elevation is facing the back alley. The west elevation is facing the 99th Street. So we have introduced 2 different material on the elevation. Above the brick veneer base. So we would like to use a simple shape to create a modern style design. This is the east elevation facing the neighbors. We try to minimize the windows on the east elevation to minimize the impact to the neighbor. The lot direct east to our property is still a single family house. So we would like to protect their privacy by reducing the windows on this elevation. The side plan. So as you can see, the building's front entry is on the north side facing 78th Avenue. And the building's elevation, most of the windows are on the west elevation facing 99th Street. And we have provided the vehicle parking, the bicycle parking, and the waste, the garbage bin storage area on the backyard facing the back alley. The floor plan, main floor, it is only the primary apartment unit, only 1 unit on the main floor. Second floor, we have provided 2 two-bedroom units. Third floor is the same, also 2 two-bedroom units. Basement, half of the basement are part of the apartment unit on the main floor. So one of the client, he's planning to live in this building, so he would like to have a very nice unit for himself. Also, we provide a mechanical electrical room and some storage for the residents in the basement. The building section. This is the landscape plan. So our landscape architect have designed the landscape using the proper trees and shrubs which fit this property. The side setback is quite narrow, so all he used is some smaller or columnar trees and shrubs. Also, he provide a lot of the shrubs and the trees in the front yard to create a nice front yard. These are the trees and the shrubs that we use for this project. The landscape detail. Lighting plan, we have used wall lamps installed on the exterior perimeter of the building. Also the pot light on the soffit. We have bullet lights in front and rear yards. We also use the exterior lights are controlled by the photo cell. And the photos are showing the wall light and the pedestal, the bullet lines that we are going to use for this project. These are some exterior material that we are going to use. In addition to the metal siding, we also have the brick veneer on the base, but it is only on the base and probably will be pretty much hidden by the landscaping in front of. This is the sunshade analysis. Because this lot is a corner lot and also the lot is north-south, so there is very minimum sunshade to the neighbors. This is the main, the March 21st and the June 21st, and September 21st and December 21st. Well, because this is a quite simple project, so this summarizes my presentation. And if you have any question, I'm happy to answer and discuss. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. We'll now move to the roundtable portion of this project. As we move to the questions to the applicant, I'd like to remind the committee and the applicant to please keep questions and responses concise and limit questions to 2 per committee member. If committee members have additional questions, please identify it at this end of your 2 questions, and if time is permitting, we will follow up after the remainder of the committee members have had an opportunity to ask questions. With that, Mindy, please start us off.
For sure. Thank you, Craig. Hi, Songlin. It's nice to see you again.
Hi, Mindy.
Hi, I have a couple of questions for you. So I understand what you're going for here with the design. It does feel quite one-dimensional to me. All of the metal siding makes it look a little flat and cold with all of its glossiness. I'm wondering if you've given any thought to different textures that might add some interest and warmth, and maybe some greater extrusion, like that extrusion on the is quite minimal. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that a bit.
I see. Okay, yeah. So for one of the metal siding, we use the wood grain with the fur color. So we hope that can create some natural and warm feeling. And for the dark color, the corrugated metal siding, I went to the job site and I see that there is a new house building just about 2 lots east to our property, which has the very dark color of the entire building. So I was just thinking maybe we also use the dark color so to coordinate with some neighbors building. But absolutely, we can consider to maybe change the dark. We can use some different color, for example, like the silver color or the light gray color instead of all the dark color for the metal siding.
Okay. And my second question, I always advocate for outdoor space. So I'm curious about the Juliet balconies and how they might feel to occupy a unit without that external access for people who aren't able to leave their home as much.
Yeah, this one, because the front yard and the backyard are not very big. The client understand that probably we cannot make a big balcony for the residents because we still need some space for the landscaping. So, however, they still want to create some balcony feeling for the residents. The client is the same client of the 9912 at 84 Avenue, that project which we also passed the EDC review a few years ago. And he feel that the Julia balcony is pretty good. So his direction is he want to still go with this one. And we use the two casement door inside the balcony. So the residents, they can open both doors, and then they can pretty much has a feeling of the balcony. Yeah, that's to try to minimize the space occupying the front yard, but still create a balcony feeling for the residents.
Okay, I understand that. I understand aesthetically it might be the right choice, but for functionality and quality of space, especially for people with disabilities who are more reliant on entertaining at home because of barriers to access to public spaces or transportation, I think it's really important to kind of create that quality outdoor space. But that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mindy. Yeah.
Thank you, Mindy. Shay.
Hello again, Songling. Good to see
Hi,
you.
Shay.
Okay, we'll keep it on this picture. My 2 comments, maybe 2.5 comments, are complementary to Mindy's. I just want to tackle them from a different perspective. So taking a look at the massing for this project, and especially this west elevation that is facing the primary north-south thoroughfare there, like this elevation reads way too flat for how prominent of a site this is, especially for the high traffic of pedestrian activity that currently is happening here. Might not always, but there's a ton of breweries just across the street. There's a lot of people that will see this space. And I think that this elevation is way too flat for the visibility that it becomes a proponent for. In support of that, I think there are other small gestures I'm seeing on this elevation in particular. Like you've got a small elevation in your parapet on the interior side, and then on the back side that sometimes relate to the wood soffit, the faux wood soffit, or not soffit, wood gray material, but doesn't always consistently apply. So the top datum line feels a really weak gesture, and then this west elevation I think needs depth and texture in it to make it more successful. And to complement Mindy's other point about the Juliet balconies, I feel like the Juliet balconies maybe on the north side are fine. They added a little bit of depth. I'm just curious, like these suites would really benefit from having some outdoor amenity space for the tenants because there's basically nothing there. The sod next to the pedestrian walkway and that sidewalk off of the street is not very much. So is there a reason why, what I would recommend is you would put some balconies on the west on that elevation, just so folks can, even if they're adjacent to those living spaces there, they can walk outside, have access to natural light that's not just basically opening a really big window, which is what a Juliet balcony typically is. It's just a bigger window. So I would highly recommend, if it's not balconies, there's a lot more undulation on that facade to make it not be so flat. It's basically it's just a rectangle that's extruded up, and that's all it is. I think there needs to be a lot more articulation there.
Yeah, understand.
And this is the second part of this question that's more for curiosity, but you have 2 very different elevations for the east and the west side. Is there a reason why the east elevation has these diagonal components onto it that face the neighbor, and the other side is just vertical? They're very different treatments, very different vibes.
Yes, because the the west elevation, we have a lot of the windows. So it helped to create a bit break of the long wall. And so I'm thinking maybe, especially that's facing the street. So I would like to just go with the different material to separate the long elevation. But I think, yeah, I think you have a good point that we can probably add the balcony on the west elevation. For example, say like for this unit, absolutely we can have some balcony facing here to make the elevation more interesting. And for the east elevation, because we try to minimize the windows, and then the rest of the wall may look a bit boring. So I'm thinking maybe the easy way to make it say less boring is we introduce some diagonal graphic to make it looks a little bit more interesting for the side elevation.
Okay. That's maybe more of a subjective point. I think there would be a benefit to having a cohesion. I think you'd have to lean one way or the other. I'd say try to add more of those angles and those diagonals elsewhere in the project, not just on one side that not a lot of folks see, or you keep some dynamism and then just break up the massing on this elevation with some vertical lines if that's the direction you want to go. I'd say lean into one or the other. Don't kind of have it both ways. It kind of reads, if depending on the elevation you look at, very very different approaches.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
And then I'll probably cut it off there. I'll leave most of the site comments to the rest of my colleagues. But yeah, thanks, Donglin. Hope you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hope I didn't blow up the planning too much. Good luck.
Thank you, Shay. Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, Songlin. Can you confirm whether or not there's going to be window wells in the basement?
Yeah, I think for the basement, for the if you look at the basement plan, yeah, so we will have the window well here, and we will have 3 window well.
And how does that affect like mobility and accessibility, walking around? There's no sidewalks or anything to walk from the front to the back.
Because this is a corner lot, we did think about that. Because this is a corner lot and there are a sidewalk right next to the 99th Street. So if we take a look at the site plan, because there is a existing sidewalk right next to here, so we are thinking probably we don't need to create another sidewalk around here. Instead, maybe we create more landscaping to have a screen between the building and 99th Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Raj.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little bit confused with the kind of the concept of this building. The main floor, if you can explain to me how does it, like if you scroll to the main floor, concept that. So looks like, yeah, main floor. So this seems like a very large unit here, multiple bedrooms. But if I understand it correctly, you kind of enter the main floor from one level up, like on the from the 78, and then it doesn't seem to be any way to get to the back alley. Am I reading this correctly?
Right. For the main floor, the entry is from the 78 Avenue. That's correct. Yeah. The yeah.
Sorry, and then you get to the
Your
master
question
bedroom.
is about the access from the back alley, right?
There isn't, right? Like,
Yeah,
am I
that's
reading it correctly? Okay, and you have a disabled parking lot on the backside,
Mm.
right? But how do you get to the building from a wheelchair? I just don't understand the idea of how you get from the back
Oh,
alley.
I see.
And
I
you
see.
don't
I
have
see
a
what you mean.
sidewalk,
Yeah.
which you are proposing to use the one that's existing. So you'd have to kind of take your wheelchair around, I suppose, and then you're through that staircase on the front side. The other
Mhm.
thing that kind of confused me is there is an internal staircase, seems to be going down to the basement, right next
Yeah.
to the dining room. Is
Yeah.
that correct? So that basement is part of this main floor.
That's right. Yeah, the main floor is a big unit, including the entire main floor and half of the basement.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
Um,
one of the client, he's a big family, and he has many people living in the same family, so he need more rooms.
Okay, and then you have a storage room on the basement. I wonder if that could be turned into some sort of an amenity space. Like you don't really have anything here. I mean, even the balcony is Julian balcony, like somebody pointed out
Mhm.
there.
Yep, absolutely. That storage space is a flex room, so absolutely we can say like change part of it to amenity space like a gym or a small party room.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Karen.
Hi there, Songlin. Thanks for the presentation. I am wondering how, and in your opinion, this concept, this interface with 109th Street works with or meets the overall intentions of the 109th corridor plan,
The 99th Street corridor.
which is supposed to be the 109th Street corridor plan calls for buildings and developments to be oriented towards 109th Street. You've oriented this to 70 beside the avenue. So, and I'll be honest, I don't see any effort to try and work with that plan. So I'm curious what your response to the planning side and the 109th corridor plan is.
Sorry, you mean the 99th Street corridor, right? Because we are facing 99th Street, not the 109th Street.
Am I on the wrong street? Okay, yeah, 99th, yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. At the very beginning for this project, we plan to design mixed-use building. For the mixed-use building, the main floor is the commercial, and we do have the opening facing the 99th Street. And 99th Street is an arterial road. So, but later on, the city officer said that because this law, although this law is a corner law, but it is not next to any property which has a commercial use. So the city officer doesn't support us to have the mixed-use building, and it will be only the residential building. So that's why the client decided to make a big unit just for himself on the main floor and the basement. Because the 99th Street is an arterial road with a lot of the traffic, and there are not enough landscape screening along the 99th Street. So the client, they would like to have the residential entry, not facing the arterial road, but facing the 78 Avenue, which will be a bit more, a bit safer and also with more private. Yeah, not sure if I answer your question.
I would challenge you on that, on this, on the idea of safety and septhead. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think we've got differing opinions on septhead and safety and eyes on the street. So maybe I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
So I get
okay,
into
thank you,
philosophical
Karen.
Thanks, Karen. David.
Hey, Songlin, how you doing?
Hi, good. How are you doing?
Good. I am going to follow up on Karen's question or comment. As far as I'm concerned, like right now, that the way in which this development is oriented to the avenue and to the service lane is not in line with the Strathcona ARP consolidation plan, where it indicates that the intent is to encourage more active pedestrian-friendly frontages along 99th Street, and it's certainly not in line with the gazillion other, since I've been on the EDC for over 6 years, it's not consistent with the other precedent development that has gone on along 99th Street, be it mixed use or be it strictly multi-family residential. So I doubled down on Karen's challenge that that really this should be looked at. It really doesn't fit what the precedent has been along 99th Street to date. So and I would also agree with my other colleagues about the current state, especially of the west facade, and how it addresses 99th Street. I'm just wondering, like, with looking at the current site landscape approach, I'm just wondering how that design approach enhances and engages with 99th Street and the proposed entrances off of 78th Avenue in the server lane. And then I'm just wondering if there was any consideration of creating some common outdoor amenity space in that area to sort of enhance the interface and connectivity to the public realm along 99th Street. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, David. First of all, I have a question. With the new zoning bylaw, now when we look at the city's zoning bylaw map, I noticed that actually they already removed the overlay or the ARP, not the ARP, but they removed that. So when we look at the zoning map for the property, I see that pretty much all the property, they said the planning effect is none and the overlay is none. So I just want to get a clarification. Based on that, do we still need to follow all those, say, like the plan and the overlay?
Well, that would be something you'd have to take up with the development officer, but I'm just speaking about precedent, right? Like, anything that's come through EDC over the last 6-7 years along 99th Street all of it has addressed 99th Street. It hasn't addressed the avenues, or it hasn't addressed the service lanes. So if you drive down 99th Street, especially in this area where you're building this development, it's a pattern, right? There's a current pattern of new development that, as I said, faces directly onto 99th Street. So it'd be weird to sort of allow this as a new precedent along 99th Street without the ability to sort of explore, if this could be turned around so that it does address 99th Street. And to that point, and I think you've probably heard us say this before, like, you know, if you could have come in for an informal presentation, rather than just coming to a formal, I think we would be able to sort of discuss these items a little bit more openly and give an opportunity to maybe explore, you know, how the building, the way you've got it sort of situated right now, how we could sort of adjust some of the entrances and access, egress, and, you know, the levels of the development by, you know, having it address 99th Street a little bit better. So
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. We can take a look at that and make
Okay.
we can change the building entry and more open to the 99th Street to create more, say, like a street front feeling of the building design.
yeah, okay, and as I said, like from the planning department, if they were sort of saying opposite, as I said, I would argue the point that if they look at any of the other developments that have been approved over the last little while along there, I'd support a variance along those lines. I don't know why we would change the approach now, so, and be different. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah, understand.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Derek.
Thank you, David. Janice, are you here? No, sounds like that's a no. So I guess that leaves me. I think kind of much like the rest of the committee, I have similar kind of concerns. I'll try to kind of speak to it kind of maybe a little more broadly or vaguely, and kind of not specific to the building. I mean, it's clear the project has maximized, you know, the number of dwellings, the height, and the site coverage, with density being the apparent target. I think the concern is that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. If density becomes a sole target or success measure without equal consideration for other design and livability factors, we risk creating places that are efficient on paper but poor in practice. Urban design is fundamentally complex, and focusing only on increasing dwelling units per hectare, for instance, can unintentionally sideline critical elements. And I think in this case, kind of elements that have been sidelined are human scale design, public realm, the quality of public realm and integration with surrounding context, access to green space and landscaping, daylight access and building orientation, walkability, connectivity, and sense of place and social cohesion. So it just feels like the whole, you know, it's, you got your pocket and you extruded it kind of for sake of everything else. I think kind of the committee did a pretty good job of highlighting some of those concerns, so I kind of won't repeat them. But thank you for your presentation. Sorry, let me find my script here again. Thank you for your presentation. We'll now turn to the deliberation portion of the meeting. Feel free to stay on. We just ask that you do not participate in the deliberations.
Okay, thank you.
And then we'll have a written letter back to you within 48 hours. Does anyone want to kick off the discussion? Sorry, I'm having trouble with my windows here. There we go.
I'll add on my point about the west elevation, but would the recommendation be from EDC to more generally look at the west elevation facing 99th, or to prescribe something more specific with adding outdoor amenity space in the form of balconies? I don't want to be too specific, but or too broad.
Can we?
Good question.
This might not be beyond our jurisdiction, but to me, the whole proposal just completely misses.
Oh, did you cut out? Aaron?
I was not turned on. Sorry.
Oh, last I heard was the project completely misses.
Yeah, it misses the mark. Would we be out of line to say go back to the drawing board? Which I guess essentially we're doing what we would do if we were to not support it, but Craig, I really think you hit the nail on the head when you're mentioning the working with for a number target, a density target, as opposed to quality of life and urban design and something. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Something's just.
I mean, it's the one thing that was looked at, right? It's the pocket and it's extruded to its maximum.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's all I saw.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pro forma. It's a box for a pro forma. I guess the other thing we didn't really talk about on that one would be garbage cans. Garbage, because presumably each one of those units would have its own set.
Well, they did show it at the back of the lane, and they did
Did they?
show 10.
Yeah.
They do show 10 bins, which I assume
Yeah.
to be the correct number. Although, again, where do these get laid out?
Exactly. Like that's a
Which is-
lot.
I think the question for many developments.
Mm-hmm. I think we need to rethink how we do that as a city, but
I don't want to digress too far, but
yeah. Rabbit hole.
at least there was a space considered for it
Mhm, that's
on the
true.
site as a bare minimum.
Given that, as I said, I just don't think this has been well thought out in many different ways. More specifically relating to the pattern that's occurred, has occurred over time here along 99th Street, and based on plan directives. I'm just going to make a motion of non-support for this project.
I'll second the non-support. Is it beyond our realm to suggest working more closely with the development officer on finding some common ground for variances, or is that beyond our scope?
I would suggest it's beyond our scope.
Okay.
We didn't talk too much about the landscape design. Do we want to comment anything particularly on that, especially the side facing 99th Street. As it exists, it's basically just a clean swath of sod and then some vegetation and shrubbery adjacent to the building.
It might be sort of captured in the second bullet, Shay, with regards to creating
okay.
a little bit
Yeah.
more of an outdoor amenity space in those areas, which would, of course, incorporate some hard and soft landscape.
Would it be too much if I just drop? Sorry, I just killed the formatting here, but no. There we go. Is that too much? That last point? That's pretty much. Not gonna lie, had this typed up before.
I have no problem with it.
Um,
I think it's bang on. Mm,
do we want to read through these for a minute before we?
I'm wondering if anyone else has any concerns about Septhead. I think just the orientation to 99th versus the avenue.
That could probably be added to Craig's sub bullets.
Okay, I can. Yeah, I'll add that. It was there, and I don't think I mentioned it because it didn't kind of necessarily stand out to me. But
And I'm thinking more from an eyes on the street kind of perspective.
yes,
Visibility, activity.
I think what always gets me on this one and kind of other proposals is, and we've talked about it, is the inclusion of an accessible stall that is tied to a building that doesn't have any sort of accessibility.
That could be added to your sub bullets as well.
Yeah. We've made the motions, so if we're happy with how everything is written, just get back to my script here. For the motion of non-support as presented on the screen, maybe just a yes or no to make it easier. In the same order, Mindy,
Yes.
Shay,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Raj,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Janice is not here, and Craig, yes. Thank you all. The next item, we don't have any other business with Peter coming here, with Peter not being here.
Correct.
Item E, upcoming applications. I believe we will find that out on Friday, Ashley.
Yeah, we have 3 potential, but nothing confirmed yet.
Okay. Do we have any regrets for the next meeting on Tuesday, November 4th? Does anyone know if they won't be around? Nothing. Okay.
Sorry, I won't be. I was on mute.
Okay. That's okay. So Raj will be a regret for November 4th. Okay. Moving to item F, adjournment. We will adjourn the next this meeting at 7:07, with our next meeting being Tuesday, November 4th, 2025 at 4 p.m. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
See you guys.
Thanks, Craig.
You guys.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Yep.